Now that's for bindings. Well, now binding has been done. So all we need to do import it. So here we could just do pages. Now here for us, that's a sign in. Okay, and index. Okay, now the error should be gone. Let's see. What is confusing? Okay, the error has been resolved, so make sure that you have the right path as you import them, and in both cases sign in and welcome page. So you should import index.dart, and the naming over here is also important. Well, as we named here, so our bindings should also change. Of course we need to change this one over here as well, otherwise we'll still get error. Sign in, okay, and here sign in. Okay, we are good to go. All right, so errors gone here, errors gone from here, view. So make sure that view's name is also sign in page, but the content is still welcome page. I know we'll change that, but the naming is important, otherwise it will get error from here and everything else stays the same. Okay, great. Now with this we are done with the naming, and so this is our new project folder. Sorry, this is our new folder in our project for sign in, method, view, and states. Well, now here is our welcome controller. Now as we are going to let's open this up one more time, not this one, the view. So what's gonna happen over here, we're gonna click on this button where it says that handle sign in. So this is the button, and then it'll take us here, and definitely we can go to the sign in page. But before that, we go ahead and sign in our page. Actually, we want to remember that our app has been opened first time. So the login would actually connect with the backend server with Firebase. During that time, we want to remember that our app has been opened or been used. So over here, we'll call create a, I don't say call, actually create a function, call a function. So here I would say config store to save already, save already open, this one. Now there are some changes that we need to do, and we also need to import this. Let's see if it's imported or not. Okay, now this is the function in this file which is called config store, and this is a variable, static variable, and because of this variable we can access this. Now let's go to this config file. So this is our config file. Of course, this is a configuration file, and as you can see inside this we have this static method, well, static field, I would say 2. So because of this 2, we can access the methods or members in this class from other controller, like over here we are accessing. Now we'll take a look at this one. Now actually this is where the function is getting called, and this is where actually we remember that our app has been opened. So we have a key for this, and we set it to true. So if you have an app, and in the app you want to remember whether your app has been opened first time or not, for that reason just go ahead and create a config file. Now I do have a lot of things in my config file. In this case, this is a controller. You don't have to have actually any of this, at least. So now this is the method that should get called, and then this method should have a key. That key would set to true. So next time in the app we can use it, and the app would know that if it is true, we know that the user has opened this app before. Now of course here this is the storage service class. The storage service class is our shared preference actually. So we are using shared preferences to store user information where the user has opened or not the app information. We save it inside. So this is the another class. Anyway, so this is how you go ahead and save user information first time, if they open or not. Now the storage, once again, this is inside your common folder, so everything is there. So all it does is create a static field which is called a 2. You can create anything, you can name it anything, and we use this one with the class name together to access the methods or fields internally it has from out of this class or from out of this controller. Like, so this is a controller as well. GetX is a kind of controller, we know that, GetX service. Now over here, this is a complete controller. So this controller is the methods we want to call outside of this class. In that case, you want to create a field, static field, and use that static field to refer outside of this controllers or class. Like for example, over here, config store has a method which is a property which is called 2, and based on this we can just go ahead and call any method. Now from here we also called storage service method which is called bool, because inside the storage service we have created a field which is called 2. So because of this we are able to call them without creating a new instance of this class. All right, okay, so now as we click on this, it should take us to it would save user information, and then we should go to a new UI. Now of course, where is our new UI? Our new UI should be here, this one. Well, we don't need any of this for now. We can just simply go ahead and remove that. Okay, so here we want to construct our new class actually, and for now we'll just return an empty container and make sure that over here we have this sign in controller. Okay, great. And most probably we need to import it. Let's do that. Okay, great. And it should actually look like this UI. Here we'll have logo and subtitle and button, and at the top we'll also have some text about the button itself. Now this is going to be a build method over here. Now we'll create some small methods. Those methods should return widget. So for example, for this one we are going to create a new widget and call it from the body section. Well, so here for this reason we'll create a new widget and we'll call it build logo, and then here we do return container. So container is a widget. Now inside this we're gonna set width and height. Okay, this one, and margin. So here add insets only. Now do remember, this is not a UI class. I'm not going to explain this UI just like other tutorials I did. We'll mostly focusing on GetX, the whole architecture, the app architecture, and Firebase. When it comes to Firebase and GetX, I'll explain as much as possible. Now here we'll have column, child. Now child will have two sections, the logo and the text. So that's why logo itself has a column. It will have two children, the logo and the text. Now for logo, we'll put everything inside a container. and here we'd also do 76. Now here we'll set up margin once again, edge sets symmetric, do margin edge sets dot symmetric. Now instead this will have horizontal. Okay, and right after this we'll have child, and here we'll use a stack widget. Now we are doing stack widget to have better control of their position, and inside this first we'll have a positioned widget, and let's do it like a child over here as a container, and here actually the actual height of this logo, and then here we do decoration, box decoration, color. Here we'd use app colors dot primary background color. Now this is already in your folder, so you shouldn't be worried about this. A const modifier, and then here we'll have box shadow, shadows dot primary shadow. Let's see. Well, we have this one inside this folder, so let's go ahead and import that. The error is gone, and then we'll set a border radius. Push this one, and let's do circular border radius. So here what we could do, say pretty much like 35 .w, just like this. I'm trying to make it responsive. Nope. Okay, so we'll just keep it 35 for now. And the last part that we need to have for this is an image that we want to show. So right after this stack widget, we'll have, right after this positioned widget, we'll have another positioned widget. And then inside this we'll use image.assets, this one. Now here assets, images, IC launcher.png with 76, height 76, and fit box fit dot cover. Now this is our logo that should be ready, and inside this we can use app bar, and here we just simply call build logo. Now inside this body, just let's remove the container, then we'll put everything in the center. After that we'll have child, and we'll have a column and the children. Now the first one we want to put is this one. So that's our own logo, but not exactly in the app bar. Now let's go ahead and come to our app over here. Let us try to restart everything, and let's see how it goes. So I want to click on this, and it does look like we have an error. So here it says that config store is not found. That's because we haven't done initialization of config store. So it should get initialized somewhere here. So right below it, actually we'll initialize config store, the one that we have seen before. So let's import them. Now this file once again in the common folder, and both of them should initialized because config store actually internally use storage service. So even before we go ahead and use that, this should be initialized first, and then this one should initialized. Well, because this has an instance that is called shared preference get instance, so this has to be initialized. So we make sure that we call the init method from it, the one that we created. So it must be initialized, and then we do config store this one. Right, so some of these files as we go ahead and work, I'll explain just like I did before. Okay, now let's go ahead and try to restart. Okay, great. And we do see that our welcome controller has been initialized. Now let's click on this. Yes, so this is the logo that we've been talking, and it's already working. All right, so now we'll come to this page one more time, and here we do see that build a logo, and right after this positioned widget, well, I would say right after this actually container, right after this container we'll create a new container. So here we'll have child text, and for now we'll say let's chat, and we do see that it's right below it. Great. And we want to do some margin for this, add insets, then only. So here we'll have top 15.h, bottom 15.h. Okay, let's save it. Okay, looks better. And here we want to do text align, text, actually we have to do it below it. Text align dot center, and then style, text style. Now here we'll have color, colors dot third element, this one, and font weight dot 600. All right, let's better, and font size 18 sp, and so it looks bigger now. Height like this. Okay, so yeah, so with the logo and subtitle is done, and after this, let's see what do we have here. Leading underscore, we'll just keep it like that. And after this, here we'll create another widget, and we'll call it build third party login. That's all. And inside this, once again, we'll return container, and here we'll have width 295.w, and just to return like this, and we'll have it right after this. So here we'll call it build a third party login, so in a column format. So now whatever the changes we make, we'll be able to see them. So first we'll have child, and then we'll have a column children. It will be like this, like we have seen before. So this section where we will have this text and the button, so that's why they're in column format. Now the first one we want is the text here, which says sign in with social networks. Yes, we already see this. And some of the text actually from here, I guess we can directly copy and modify as we need them. Okay, app color, we want primary text color, this one. And the font weight, we don't want 600, we want 400. And font size, we want 16. Yes, and we don't need this one for now. Okay, so with this work has been done quickly. All right, and over here, right after this, actually we're gonna set up a margin. Now edge insets, the bottom, we do only in bottom 280.h. It was supposed to push it down. Well, it did not. Let's see. Click on this. Okay, we'll see why it didn't take effect. So we'll uncomment this over here. Okay. Now, right after this text, we also want a button. We'll start with padding and add insets only. Here we'll have top 30.h, left 50.w, right 50.w. Now here we'll use a child, and here is a btn flat button widget. Flat button widget, this one. And for now we'll have unpressed event. Let's see if we can put it null. If we can, then it's great. Yes. Well, we'll take care of that later. So here button width, so we'll have 200, and button height 55.h, and then we'll have title, we'll call it Google sign in or Google login. Now this one is coming from, once again, common widgets button. So the button is already there, and here okay, great. So that's the button we have over here. Okay, now between these two, let us use a special widget which is called a spacer, I guess. So it put there, and we want to put it up. Yeah, so now it's working. So this is a spacer. Now if you go and check this button, the button is already built out for you there. So pretty dynamic, good button. You can use it for many different places and for many different functions. So I'm not going to explain this one, but the button is there. I have a lot of tutorials explaining reusable buttons, so you should go ahead and check that. So this is a reusable button where you can pass events like callback functions, things like that. So now we need to work on this method. We don't have any, so that should be inside our controller over here. Well, at the top we'll initialize a Google sign-in object. So here we do Google sign in and Google sign in, and over here we do Google sign in. All right, now inside this there's a property which is called scopes. To use, well, it's not recognizing, so we have to import it manually. I have imported a lot other files at the same time because Android Studio might not recognize them. Now over here, what we are trying to say, a special settings that we should do, open ID for Google sign in, otherwise you might get error during sign in. So there are more steps to it which I'll explain soon. Now back to this one over here. So we have the sign in controller, and because this is where we want to talk with Firebase, so we should get a Firebase instance of the database. So here we do Firebase Firestore instance, this one. Okay, so we already imported it, so the error should be gone. All right, now here we'll have a method and we'll call it handle sign in, like this, and the method should be future type. Now inside this we'll have a try clause, and we'll see if we have error, then we'll catch that. And inside this we'll create a variable, we'll call it user, and the variable should be a waiting type, and from that we get sign in method, and let's see, async modifier, catch. So we'll keep it for now like this. All right, and then inside this we'll check. So user is not null, which means that we have an object returned from Google API, and then we do a lot of interesting stuff. So here we first save the username, so display name equal user.display. Well, if username is not there, then we'll check with user email. It's just a fallback condition. We are checking if the user has a display name or not. If the user didn't set up any name, then we'll just show user name and we'll save it in this variable. And then email, user.email, and string ID, user.id. So user will have an ID. Once again, everything is coming from here, and then string photo URL, user.photo URL. So if the URL exists, we'll use that one, otherwise it's empty. All right, so once we click on this button, this method should get called, and then we await for response, and then if the response is good, then we save information in this local variables. Now here we have a model for user information, so we're going to use that model so that we get organized. So here we'll have user login repository, this one, and once again this is coming from this common entities user.dart. If you click on this, you see that it's a model that has to do with user information, the information that we get from Firebase. We want to create objects based on that. So over here we have from JSON and to JSON methods. So I already have a lot of tutorials explaining this, so go ahead and check them. Just search on my channel and you'll find them. Anyway, so here I'm gonna copy this, then I'll put it one more time, and here we'll create a new variable and we'll call it user profile, just like this. And now user profile will have an object which is called email. Now this email, the email I got from here, this one, so in fact which is this one, we are saving it here. And user profile dot access token, so that's user ID, user profile dot display name, and over here is display name, and then user profile dot photo URL. All right, okay. And after that, actually you wanna, why we did these things, because we want to save this user information to our device. So that's why here we'll have user store dot to dot save profile, and we just pass user profile object to it, and we are good to go. Now if you click on this one, it will take you to user.dart class. Okay, so this is also a getX controller class. Now we do have some variables over here, as you can see. So mostly it does, while during init it tries to find for user token, but even before it tries, the first time when we have app get launched, when we click on this, actually this one gets called, as you can see, save profile, and we send out this user model to it, and we say is login to true. And at the same time over here, user profile key, so whatever the object that we send, we decode it and we save it to this this key over here. And at the same time we save user token, so that's why here we have a set token method. So as you can see, this is the set token method. So now it stores user key, the ID, user ID, and at the same time the token is also set first time. So when this controller first time get initialized, this token is empty, and this is also false. Then this one gets called, and not actually this one, set profile gets called, and within it we call set token, and we pass the access token. Remember, access token is in fact just the user ID, this ID, okay, the ID we get from Firebase. So that's our access token. So we save them locally in our storage, so that we don't have to always rely on going back to the Firebase server and get data, because that would be slow and waste. All right, so everything happens in local storage using a storage key. As you can see over here, we have this one. All right, so now back to this one. So if user is not empty, then we're gonna save it. Okay, all right, save it to our user profile. Well, now actually what we could do, we can come to, let's see, this button over here. Actually this is the button, the view, and actually from here we can call controller.handle sign in, this one. Okay, all right, so let's make sure we don't have any errors. So this arrow function could be cranky sometimes. Okay, so now we click on this, so this method should get called, and if it does, then it should store as well as This is our Firebase chat, this one. And well, first few things we have to do. So we have to open up our authentication tab for this. Okay, we need to, I guess we need to click on get started. And then we're gonna first select Google sign in. We're gonna enable this. And you need to have one admin email, that's what you have. And so this falls to sign in method. It's asking us to download the latest configuration file for Android, but we'll skip that because it's already there. Now if we come to authentication, well, first we don't have any users here, and our sign in method is this one. So now first time we'll try to go ahead and log in, and we'll see that if we have any users or not. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and restart our app. Okay, and let's click on this, and now let's click on this, and we just see that app exited. Well, there should be an error. We are trying to log in, and we see that lost connection to device. How to solve this issue? Now definitely this is one of the settings issue. First thing you have to do, come over here, info.plist, and over here we need to set up key for this dict over here. Now where to get those key? We do have this Firebase Google sign in, this one. So let's come over here, and for this iOS setup, so just copy this one. So copy this key from here, and then I would say put it somewhere at the below. Okay, all right, now this is not good enough yet, because the reversed client ID, we need this one. And where to get it? Now you can either get it from your Google services info.plist file, actually from here. So we do see reversed client ID, so we'll just copy this one. Now this has been auto-generated as we set up Firebase and projects using Flutter Flyer. So we'll just go ahead and copy them and put it here, and then we'll relaunch our app. Well, of course it'll start building from the beginning. All right, so the building has been done, and then let's come over here, and this is our login page. Now we'll see if we have the same error or not. Now it says that yes, so Google wants to access this app. So let's go ahead and do the authentication. So it's waiting to be accessed. And then I'll choose this one, and actually login is done. All right, of course I don't have any redirect method, but yes, the user has logged in. Okay, the user has logged in, and then we'll come over here, and after this actually we want to save the information in Firestore database. Now before we save in the Firestore database, we have to check if in the database we have users or not, the certain user. So that's why first here we'll declare a variable, and here we'll call it user base, and then here we'll do await db.collection. Now this is the Firebase instance that we have created, and then we want to have a collection named users, and then we'll here use with converter, this one. Now it has two properties, it takes from store and to store. Now with converter, I do have other tutorials, you may check that out. So basically it means whatever the data we get from Firebase, that's map whatever we send to the Firebase, that's also map. But once you get data from Firebase, this map type data, which is not convenient to work with. So with converter, we convert map to object, and before we submit it to the database, we convert the object to map type. So with converter does it for us. Now here we'll invoke a model name, which is called user data, this one, and then it has a method which is called from Firestore, this one. And here we would do the same. Now here we need to pass a function with arguments. So here we do user data, and the object name is user data as well. And here we'll have options. Let's see. Okay, well, if we return like this, the error should be gone actually. So user data dot to Firestore, this one. All right, and over here on this we want to call where, this one, and we want to search ID. So certain user, whether it's already exists or not in our Firestore database, we search that using ID. So we have to match this ID with the one that we are going to check in the database. So here we would do is equal to ID, and if there is a match, we'll get all of them. Yeah, that's as simple as that one. Well, now this method, Firestore and to Firestore, actually they exist in this model. Once again, they are all here. So here you see that we have from Firestore. So it's more like from JSON method, but instead of from JSON, we call it from Firestore. And here you see we have to Firestore, which is to JSON method, similar. Now this class once again is in common entities folder, so you can just go ahead and check that. There's a lot of convenient models over here. All right, so if we have an user in our Firebase users collection, we'll save that over here. Now of course we also need to check if this is empty or not. So for that reason, here we do user base dot docs dot is empty. If it is empty, then actually we want to add them manually. So before we add them, actually over here we need to declare a variable final data user data. Now here ID name, display name, this one email, photo URL, location, and well, we don't have any location object for now, so just keep it empty. FCM token, this is also empty for now. Add time, you do timestamp dot now. Okay, so this is the model that we have seen early. So we give it data and it will return us an object, and that object we can send to Firebase using, once again, using this function, the one that we created early. So for this reason, we'll just copy this one and right below it we'll just paste it. Now this time, instead of where, we are adding. Add what? We directly add the data to it, and we don't need this. Okay, great. So what's happening here, first we locally save user data, and after that we check if the user exists in Firebase or not. If it doesn't exist, we get all this user information, just like from here, as you can see this information. we convert it to an object, then we call with converter. Now this will help us to submit data to the backend in Firebase. All right, and after that, let's see, after everything we are done over here, then here we could do toast info, this one, and here we can send a message, login success. Okay, now this is once again coming from a plugin, or like over here. Actually there should be a plugin if you go there. Okay, all right, Flutter toast is coming from a plugin. There's a plugin has been already installed. All right, and after that we want to go to a new page. Here we could do get.off all, get.off and to named, and here we could do app routes dot application. This one, this is the route that where we want to go. Now in between, if we have any kind of error including login error, so here you want to show it. So login error, and if we have more errors you can also print in the console, then you are good to go. All right, so now let's restart our app one more time. So let's come over here, let's click on this, let's click over here. All right, so let's select this. Okay, now here it says that user store not found, need to call user store or get lazy put. Now we do see that we might have an error regarding this one, so this has not been injected, so that's why it says that you have this error. So when you use getX and the controllers are not injected before you use them, you get this error. You come over here, so this is the user store, this is the controller that should get injected, but it is not. So well, I'm gonna close this one and storage and this and this. Let's come over here, and I think we can look for our main.dart over here, and right below it we inject the controller over here. Okay, all right, now let's restart it one more time, and yes, we do see that storage has been created, config store has been created, user store has been created. That's wonderful. So now let's come over here. Yes, now we'll see if we have error or not. Click on this, login, continue, and we'll click on this. Okay, so we have well, it went to a sign-in route and these things happened. Let's check on Firebase. Now here, one thing that we didn't initialize the Firebase data store, so that could be a problem. So I think we have to do it one more time. So if you didn't do that, you have to create the database from here the way I did, and then well, we'll do it in test mode, and I'm gonna select the database somewhere near me. Let's see if I have, okay, I'll go ahead with India over here. Okay, now it's completely empty. Now another thing we want to do in this controller, like as user logs in, we want to listen to it. So far we are able to log in using this object, and then we also want to listen if the user has already logged in or not. So for this reason, here would use one of the convenient method that getX has. So that's called onReady. So we're gonna call onReady method, and first we'll override super.onReady. All right, and then we'll use a Firebase. Let's see, Firebase auth dot instance dot auth changes, and then it has another method which is called listen. We'll listen to that. Now here event is the thing that we want to listen to, but here we want to listen to user, whether user has logged in or not. So that's why we change it to user. And then here we can check if user is null, that means that there is no user. So here we can print user is currently logged out. All right, so else here we could print user is logged in. So this Firebase auth instance and auth changes, this one actually does the trick. Now we already logged in, so hopefully if we restart our app we will see this one. So let's go ahead and see how it looks like. Okay, we don't see anything yet, so let's come to the right section, and over here it already took us here, and let's click on this. So here it already says that user is logged in. Okay, yeah, because the earlier user still exists, we didn't log out from that, so that's why you still see this one. So we need to do a mechanism where we log out first and then check this one. Anyway, now here we'll see if we can use other accounts to log in, and if we can do that, here we'll see a new user, right? So let's use my another account. So I'm gonna log in here like this. Okay, anyway, it should be there. Looks like we already logged in, and well, let's check our Firestore database. Yes, we already see that we have two documents. So first one was the one that I have latest logged in. This is the old one, so that section is working. Now if you still come to the authentication tab, we don't see any user information yet. Like the users, they have logged in. We were supposed to see this email and this email over here. We don't see that, so let's go ahead and check that. And that in the backend, one reason that in the backend we don't have any user information, actually we are making skipping. Well, actually we are not trying to insert it here, which we should actually. So one reason why we don't have it here, the reason is because in our authentication over here, actually we need to insert the information to Firebase, which we did not. Even though the login works, but we still should insert it. So here we'll create a variable, and here we'll call it g authentication. Now here we could do user dot authentication, this variable, and then after that here we'll get Google auth provider dot. Now let's see if we can get it directly. So here we'll get credential, this one. Now auth provider, it takes ID token, this one. So we'll get it from G authentication over here, dot ID token, this one, and as well as over here access token. Now we have to do the same. So here we do authentication dot access token. All right. Well, over here actually we need to do await, otherwise we'll get error, and you see that error from here is also gone. Now here we'll create a variable and we'll call it credential. Now we'll use this credential object to save information in the database. So here we do await, and then here we'll do Google sign in, the second one, and then sign in, SIGN, sign in with credential. Now here we'll just pass credential. And let's see, we are supposed to have this. Okay, it's not Google sign-in object, it should be Firebase auth dot instance. Okay, and now it should sign in with the credential, the one that we created early. And okay, we are good with this. Now let's try to log in one more time. And here we are. We do have login, continue. We'll do with this one. Okay, and let's see if we have over here or not. Yes, it already worked, so this was missing from there. Now we can log in one more time with a different one, and so let's click on this. Now we'll do it this one, and let's refresh. So we do see that we have two different email addresses, and of course they already exist in our database over here. We know that they already exist. Great. All right, so this section is working. Well, next we need to do this one. Actually, if the user has already logged in, we don't need to do or show this one again and again each time you restart your app. You can actually directly go to the application page. So saying that one, actually first we need to create the application page, and then we would want to check if the user has logged in or not. If the user has logged in, we'll skip this 3 pages, directly go to user dashboard, things like that. Okay, so first we need to go ahead and create this application route actually. And if you come over here and if we uncomment this, actually it should be already there. And let's see. Okay, we can start from here like this. So we need to create this page and bindings, and as well as this middle layer, which we don't have yet.